Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while. Apologies, I've been into so many things. Today's topic is tagged the technical recce and its importance for the art director and the production designer. Stay tuned. I'll start with the definition. So tech recce is a term which is a borrowed term and it fully means technical reconnaissance. It's a military term and it refers to the action of coming to do a preliminary survey of the space in which the action is going to take place. So for production and for the art director, the technical reconnaissance is the action that requires for the presence of the art director, the production designer, the director, and the other heads of departments to all be physically present in the different spaces where principal photography is going to take place. And it is essential for the following reasons, which I will explain as we go on. The following are reasons why the technical recce is important for the art director and the production designer. The different spaces require different inputs in order to convert them into the right ambience for the production. And the art director needs to understand that, but not just understand what he or she needs to do, but understand what exactly the director has in mind for the different spaces. And so it is important that the director and the art director are physically present in the spaces to understand what exactly needs to be done. So the first reason is understanding the scope of work that needs to be done in the space. How much construction needs to be done? How much modification needs to be done? What elements need to be replaced? And what elements need to be brought in or enhanced? Whether it's furniture, is paintwork, is wall artworks, is curtains, is accessories, is practical lamps. All these things will be determined and agreed upon at the tech recce. And those agreements will now form the basis of what needs to be done when principal photography commences. Another reason for the tech recce being necessary for the art director and the production designer is to be able to draw up a proper and accurate budget for the art department. Because obviously, determining the quantity of things to be provided, whether they be rented or they be fabricated or they be purchased, will be influenced by what the space requires. Like the size of the space will determine how many furniture pieces need to go into the space, how many practical lamps need to go in, the right positions for the practical lamps and the different set dressing elements, whether the carpet needs to be changed. All these things will influence the scope of the budget and will determine how to arrive at an accurate budget for the production. Another reason the tech recce is highly essential for the art director and production designer is in the case of live locations, where there's the need to go and shoot in locations that belong to people, whether it's residential or official. The art director needs to take inventory of the space, and I'll give an example. In one of my experiences, we've gone into a location and there have been a few things that were already bad or not in a great state. And so it was important. What we did was that we notified the facility management about the state of those elements. There were side stools and there were living room sofa furniture that were a bit bad. And so when you take inventory, on the day of principal photography what exactly the state of the elements were. And then you also are able to determine at that time what elements within the space can be used and what elements you need to replace and use yours. There was a location that we went to, and this location had very beautiful paintings, and they were all original paintings. And so when we got there during the tech recce, I was able to have conversations with the owner of the property, and she said that because those paintings were original paintings, we did not have permission to use those paintings in the production. And so what we did was that we had to take them down, but also determine the dimensions of those paintings in order to bring in adequate artwork to cover those spaces to replace those original paintings in those places in the location. So this is essentially a part of taking inventory and understanding what can be used and what should be replaced before principal photography commences. The following are essential tools to have on a tech recce. First, you need a measuring device. So these days you have some new measuring devices that use infrared features, but there are also, the measuring tape. It's essential because you need to know what the sizes, for example, of the openings are. If you're going to bring in furniture into a space, you need to know what the size of the door is. So consequently, you know what size of furniture pieces can get through that door. If you're going to replace curtains, you need to know the size of the windows. And so your measuring tape ensures that you can take those dimensions and then use those dimensions in fabrication of curtains and other elements, and then knowing the dimensions of the elements that must pass through access doors and things like that. Another tool to use to bring to the location is your writing materials, your notepad. So if you use your tablet to take notes or you use your phone to take notes, that's fine. But being old school, I like to have my field notebook and my pen, and then I take notes and then I take measurements, and then take whatever important details the director has highlighted during the tech recce. I take notes so that I can go back and then read over those notes and make plans according to what has been agreed. The other element that you need to use on a tech recce is a camera. So these days you have camera phones, which is fine, but a while back we had digital cameras that we had to use because phones didn't have cameras. And the reason that you need a camera is that you need pictures of the spaces, because you can't be in the space permanently while you're planning, but you need to be able to visualize that space at all times when you're making plans. And so the pictures that you take from all the different angles will help you go back and adequately plan in terms of positions, in terms of arrangements, in terms of set decoration, and all of that. And then some of the elements will also enable you prepare your mood board accurately in terms of AI generation, CGI generation, or just generally using a PowerPoint presentation. You just know where each element is supposed to be from the use of the pictures that you have taken. You can also reference those pictures when you're having conversations with the director, if we're trying to have conversations on where the best positions of certain elements are. The following heads of department are essential people to be present on a tech recce. And I'll start with the director, then the director of photography, then the gaffer, then the grip, and the production manager. The reason that all these heads of departments are essential to be present in a tech recce is that it takes a village to make a film. And so everybody's input is influenced by the input of the other department. For instance, for the gaffer, who is the technical head of the lighting department, in the case of set dressing, where the art department brings forward practical lamps, the gaffer needs to know what kind of practical lamps will be brought, and the art director also needs to know what kind of light temperatures the gaffer is going to be lighting the set with. So whether it's going to be cool daylight or tungsten warm, those things will influence the type of bulbs that will be presented for the practical light. So this is just an example of how interwoven the responsibilities are and why it is essential for everyone to be in sync and in alignment with each other from the tech recce. Lastly, I'd just like to draw a distinction between a location scout and a technical recce. So for a location scout, which involves the location manager and in some cases the director, it is going to see an array of locations that the director might have penned down from previous pictures. And then there the director selects which ones work best before they are presented to the clients or they are agreed upon. But for a technical recce, this is a selection of previously agreed upon locations that are more or less approved for principal photography. And then all necessary heads of department come in to finalize planning and agreement on what exactly needs to be done. So for the location scout, there's still options open, and locations can be approved or rejected. But for the tech recce, it is believed that the locations that are going to be visited have already been agreed upon, and then plans are finalized for principal photography. In conclusion, tech recce is highly important simply because of the fact that the art direction is essentially more or less more a pre-production activity than an on-set activity. And so in order to eradicate the possibility of uncertainties, stress, and headaches during principal photography, it is so important that tech recce is had before principal photography commences. I've seen a lot of local art directors struggle with this situation because in a lot of cases, some of them never even got to see the location before principal photography commenced. And so they had to adopt a guerrilla filmmaking style, which in some cases is nice, but is not professional and is not appropriate if you want to achieve perfection. That's all we have for this topic. If you like the topics that I bring, please like, share, subscribe, and turn on your notification button. I'll see you soon.